Why on earth can't this stupid thing stay fixed? Stop breaking. What's going on, guys? Stefan, S&E's Garage. Today we're going to be replacing the radiator on this 2010 Jeep Wrangler JKU. So on our way out to the woods yesterday, we were going to go do some trail riding. I came up to a stoplight and a puff of steam came out from under the hood, and I said, wait a minute, something's not right. Nonetheless, the radiator cracked right in here. When we get it out, we're going to show it to you. Now, ordinarily, in a situation like this, I would go ahead and upgrade my radiator to something, like an aluminum one. But I need a radiator in a pinch because tomorrow or the next day I'm going to be going out on my jet skis, and this is how I pull the jet skis. So this needs to be fixed yesterday. So we went to the parts store down the street, and we ended up with this OSC radiator. It's a plastic tank, but it comes with a radiator cap, which is nice. I think I'm going to use the one that I just bought, though. And it overall looks like a pretty decently made radiator. Our drain's down there. You'll see here on this radiator, our drain is right in the same spot. Now I'm hoping I can do all or most of this job. Well, hopefully I can do all the job without pulling the grill, because my winch is here. I don't think I'm going to have a whole lot of room to pull this grill. Maybe if I have to tilt it out towards us a little bit, I will. But we're going to see if we can get around it. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to pull this shroud here over the radiator, get it out of the way, and then we're going to start draining the coolant. You always want to do this on a cold engine. Make sure your engine's cold. Like I said, your drain's going to be right down here. If you don't have an aftermarket front bumper, there's a plastic trim piece you're going to have to remove, slide it off to the right to make some room. But we have an aftermarket bumper, so like I said, drain's right there. So let's go ahead. Let's start draining it. I just did the thermostat in this when I bought it, 3-4 months ago. So we're gonna recapture all the coolant that we just put in it so I can put it back in. I'm not gonna buy more coolant, doesn't make any sense. So we're gonna capture all that, drain it, and we'll be back with you. All right, guys, so we cleaned out our oil drain bucket here. Believe it or not, we used some Cascade dish detergent. That stuff works great for breaking down oil and stuff. So we cleaned all the old oil out of that. That way we can reclaim this coolant. We went ahead, used our needle nose pliers here, got down in there, opened that drain, and now, like I said, once it started draining, we took our radiator cap off right here. You'll see. Now we're going to go ahead and pop all these push pins out and take this top radiator shroud off. All right, guys, so the next thing we're going to do here is go ahead and remove this coolant bottle. All I have to do is pull the hose here off of the top of the radiator, and then this will slide up and out of his little locks. I'll show you when I get it out. And then we're going to go ahead and remove this fan shroud. So this lock here and that little lock there are the only thing that holds this in. So we're going to go ahead, put this off to the side, and now we're going to go ahead and work on getting this fan shroud out of the way. So this fan's going to be held in here with, it looks like 2 8mm bolts. There's going to be one right here under your upper hose. And then there's one on the other side over by the air cleaner assembly. So we're going to go ahead and pull the air cleaner out. That's going to give us better access to that. Then we're going to pull the fan out. Also, you have to unplug it right here. So getting this air cleaner off is super simple. You're just going to use a flathead right here. Loosen this clamp. Okay, then you're going to go ahead and pull your clips here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This hose is going to come off here. This is going to come off of this. But first we're going to pull this out and pull this off. The bottom of your air cleaner is held in with these. They're supposed to be 3 little push pins here, and they go into these little rubber grommets. You'll see one of ours is broken. We're going to take the time to hose this thing off and clean it before we put it back in. But now we can fully access the bolts here for the fan. We can pull it out. All right, guys, under the Jeep, you're going to have 3 more push pins, 1, 2, and 3, that you have to remove to go ahead and get that fan shroud out. We're going to pull them, and we should be able to pull the shroud up and out. All right, guys, we got our fan shroud here out. You'll see we now have a clear shot at the back of the radiator here. I'm going to go ahead and taking these lower and upper hoses off, getting them out of the way. And then we can go ahead and remove these what look to be 10mm bolts here, and then there's one on this side right here. And then I should be able to tilt the radiator back far enough to access these other bolts here that are holding the AC condenser to the radiator. And like I said, hopefully we can do that and not have to pull this grill. Alright guys, so we got this radiator here so I can tilt it far, pretty far back. There's going to be one 8mm here, one here, and then I'm going to have to get in here with some sort of a swivel or something, because there's going to be one down here behind the grill there, and then there's supposed to be one on this side, but it's gone on this side for some reason. So we're gonna go ahead and try to get them out, see what we can't do here. Otherwise this winch is definitely going to be somewhat in my way of pulling this grill, especially with the way the wires are routed. So let's see what we can't come up with. All right guys, we got our radiator out. Right here you're going to see is where our crack was. Now there is going to be an 8mm here you're going to have to remove. That is going to release the radiator from these air conditioning lines, and then there is a push pin here, and then another one on this side here that are going to release the radiator from this. Basically it's like a radiator shroud, bracket, whatever you want to call it. So now we're going to go ahead, clean this up a little bit, and then get our new radiator in. Alright guys, new radiator is in place. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and reconnect this AC evaporator, condenser, whatever you want to call it, back to the radiator with the 4 8mm bolts, and then the one here on the side. Then we have some push pins to put back in. I removed these two shrouds because they are, number one, they're kind of ripped. Number two, they're a pain in the ass, they get in your way. I can't see them making that big of a difference. So we're not going to put them back in. They go on either side of the radiator, so it's probably to help channel more air in towards the radiator, but this thing gets a ton of air already being smack dab in the front of the Jeep. It's pretty unrestricted here the way the winch is set up and everything, so we're going to leave them out. But like I said, let's get the radiator back in. There's the mounts here on the bottom. There's going to be one there and one here that you have to slide into these little slots here on either side. So just make sure you get them in after you put your condenser on. And then, like I said, everything's going to go back in the reverse order, so we'll update you. Alright guys, we got all 4 of our bolts in here for the condenser. For these lower ones down through the grill, we used a 1/4 inch extension with a swivel socket here. So now I got to go ahead and put the one in on the side here. You'll see where it goes right there. Then we have some push pins to connect down here that connect the radiator to the lower shroud. I'll show you them through the wheel wells when we get there, but we're on our way. Alright guys, we got this bolt in here. Now on the side here, you're going to see a push pin right about there. That guy right there, you're going to have to push that one in. And then there's one here on this side, about the same spot right there. You're going to have to push that back into the radiator, and that's, like I said, going to reconnect it to this lower shroud that the fan clips into. So now we're going to go ahead and put these two 10mm bolts here. There's one on this side, one on that side. That's going to bolt the radiator back up to the radiator support here. And then we're going to go ahead and drop our fans in. That way when we put our fan in, the hoses aren't in the way, and then we can connect our hoses and go from there. Alright guys, you'll see here we got our fan in, plugged it in. We got our bolt here and our bolt on this side in. We put our upper and lower hoses on. We plugged our fan in. So now we're going to go ahead and take our overflow bottle, wherever it is, right here, put it back in. We're going to put our shrouds back on top, and then we're going to put in the clips on the bottom that connect the fan to the shroud underneath, and then we can put coolant in it. Now, originally, I was going to reuse the coolant that came out. That's not going to happen. A bunch of crap fell out when I pulled the radiator, and it was unavoidable. So, we're going to go raid the garage and see what kind of coolant we have laying around to dump in this thing and take it from there. Alright guys, so we had some of this Prestone laying around, 50-50 mixed. I went ahead and poured it in my spill-proof funnel. We're going to see how much more we need. If we need to add any more, I have some of this Xerox laying around, GL5 here. This is good for Ford, Chrysler, and Mercedes. So if we need to top it off with that, we will. But we're just, hopefully, this will be enough because this is exactly what's in it. But let's just let it gurgle down again with our spill-proof funnel, and then we're going to fire it up. I have my cheerleaders out here cheering me on, but we went ahead, we topped it off with the Xerox. See, that's in here. So let's go ahead and fire it up. We're gonna let it run, let it burp. Basically, we want our upper and lower hoses to be hot. That tells us that the thermostat is open and that the cooling system should be air-free. If you want to wait a little bit longer, you can wait until the cooling fans kick on, but let's let it run, we'll see what happens. Now you're gonna notice when you first start it, you are gonna have bubbles. That's normal. That's the air coming through the system. So like I said, let's let this run, let it burp, take it from there. All right guys, upper and lower hoses are hot. Our cooling fan is on. You'll see here, we are just about done bubbling. So we're gonna go ahead, put the cork in it, and then go ahead and put our radiator cap on, and we're gonna call it fixed. All I have to do now is do what I just said and then put the air cleaner back in. All right guys, air cleaner's back in, everything's back together. We went ahead, took the Jeep for a ride, checked it for leaks, everything was good. And then we went ahead and topped off our coolant overflow. You'll see I overfilled it a little bit, but that's fine. So with that being said, I hope this video helped you do the radiator on your Jeep Wrangler JK or JKU. And if it did, please like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to leave some coolant down below that you can use. I usually like to buy it straight and then mix it myself because you get more for your money. So I'll link some coolant, some distilled water, the coolant funnel that I use to burp the system, and that should be everything you need. So like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.